Hi guys, I'm Shmee, hello and welcome back to the channel where you join me today to discover and take a first look at the new Koenigsegg Gemera, Koenigsegg's first Mega GT, a four-seater that boasts 1,700 horsepower with a whole host of trick technology. The car is just here, about to emerge, where we can take a first look, joined by company founder Christian von Koenigsegg, as well as taking a look at the Jesko Absolute, the fastest car that Koenigsegg will ever make, plus the Regera here too. But today is all about the new Gemera, Koenigsegg's new Mega GT. Let's take a look. It is time then for this car to emerge, Koenigsegg's first Mega GT, the Gemera. Have a look at this. Wow, distinctly Koenigsegg, but you will be amazed when you see the interior of this car, and we can go through it in detail. Just look at this. Auto skin with the doors opening with the motors, the full doors though that will reveal the four-seat configuration. Wait until you see though the usability, the luggage space, and hear about some of the technology that's behind it, the amount of setup that's gone into the different motors, electronics. Look at that, and look inside. Wow, this is the Koenigsegg Gemera, and I am mind blown. I heard it was coming, but to see this in person, back here you've got a 3-cylinder, 2-litre engine combined with 2 electric motors for the rear, 1 on the crankshaft for the front for the 1,700 horsepower. But also, this is the particularly trick thing. Look at this. You've got storage space with 3 full-size cases in the back, 1 in the front, as well as 4 people up to 2 meters tall sitting in comfort inside the new Gemera. As you can hear, it is currently set up, so please do excuse the noises in the background, but who better to show us the new car than Mr. Christian von Koenigsegg himself. How are you?
Good, Tim. How are you?
Very good, and congratulations. It is amazing to be here to see this.
Well, glad you say that. We're very excited by this new product that will come to the market in 2022. This is our first unveiling here at the Geneva Motor Show, and we really don't know what people will think, because it's something completely different. It's something I've been dreaming about for many years, ever since I got kids. I wanted, like, how can I share the mega car, the supercar experience with more people, and without diluting what a mega car is. Yeah. So kind of backwards and forwards, and sketched and made drawings, and even seating box like 15 years ago. But it was a big project, and I didn't really feel the technology was fully there to make the package correct, to really have a proper mid-engine car, but with full 4 seats for 4 grown-up persons, without diluting the essence of a mega car. So if we open up the doors, you will see inside the quite enormous space actually. It is as roomy in the back as it is in the front, and you don't even need to move the front seats backwards and forwards to get in and out of the rear seat.
That is one of the amazing things. You have kept your traditional Koenigsegg style doors.
You can park this close to another car, and swing up the whole side of the car fully and just get in and out.
That's actually quite an amazing thing, I think, that's easy to overlook. The complete width of the car is a distance you wouldn't normally even be able to step out.
Exactly, and now we can even clear very big curbs. So, and of course we have sensors in the door, especially here if you have a low garage. This should clear like 95% of all garages. But if you have a low garage, it will stop here instead. You can still get in and out quite easily. So, and there is no B-pillar. For a roomy 4-seater, that's also very unusual. So we had to integrate the seat belts into the carbon bucket seats, and we had to make it very slim to maximize space.
So I was just going to say one of the first things, sorry, the thickness of the seat.
Yeah, we've been playing around a lot with slimming things down to maximize space. I mean, you can actually be almost 2 meters tall back here and still not hit your head, which is I think unheard of for a thing like this. So we had to make some pretty clever drivetrain solutions to make this happen. and make it look from a shape-wise the way it looks. So the combustion engine is let's say, modernly frugal and small, but very, very powerful. So we came up with the name Tiny Friendly Giant. It's only a 3-cylinder engine, so it's tiny. It's friendly in the sense you can run on any alcohol or methanol to 100%. You don't even need like a couple of percent petrol to fire it up in cold climate because of the free valve system. And then the giant part is that it has 600 Newton meters and 600 horsepower from a 2-liter 3-cylinder engine. You can see it here, it's very snugly fit. The size of the engine, of course, also means we can have a lot of luggage space. So here in the back we have 3 carry-on cases, and there is one in the front. So one full-size airline carry-on per person in the car.
That's amazing.
Of course, we have a collaboration with Akrapovic since many, many years. So it's a titanium exhaust system that makes this engine sound more than you would expect from a 3-cylinder. You also have to remember a 2-liter 3-cylinder means you have very big bore and stroke per cylinder. Still it revs 8,500 RPM, but you get that pretty deep, growly, massive sound, so it doesn't sound tiny.
So the powertrain for the rear, the combustion engine with one electric motor, I know is for the front axle.
Exactly, so this is the confusing part. But if you imagine, there are many cars with the engine in the front, prop shaft to the rear, and rear-wheel drive. We just flipped that around in a sense for packaging reasons. We didn't want an engine up front because that would ruin the mid-engine sense,
Yep.
and this is a true mid-engine car. So we have a prop shaft with a carbon fiber torque tube going to the front axle, and we managed to get torque vectoring. We have hydraulic clutches on each output flange for the drive shafts. So combustion engine, electrical motor, and then torque vectoring. So the full power on the front axle is 600 horsepower from the combustion engine and another 400 from the electrical motor. So you have 1,000 horsepower on the front axle, a little bit over 1,000 Newton meters.
Wow, plus the electric motors for the rear, so the total output of the car.
So again, it's a little bit like on the Regera, it's a little bit how you calculate. If you take just all the motors and slam them together, you get like 2,000 horsepower, but you're limited by some gear ratio effects, how they operate together, because we want to have a massive spread of torque, and then also how much juice the battery can pump out at one given time. So the total output is 1,700 horsepower, but 3,500 Newton meters of torque.
That's quite a number. Is this through direct drive?
Yes, it's direct drive on the front axle. In the rear axle, there is one electrical motor for each rear wheel, 500 horsepower each and 1,000 Newton meters each, with one gear step down of 3.3, so you have 3,300 Newton meters per wheel, so 6,600 Newton meters in the rear, and totally it's like 11,500 Newton meters hitting the ground. So this car with 4-wheel drive has the potential of going under 2 seconds to 100 kilometers per hour.
That is literally enough torque to turn the earth.
Something like that. And of course, with individual electrical rear motors, it's torque vectoring in the rear axle. So front axle torque vectoring, rear axle torque vectoring, and we have also rear wheel steering.
Yep.
So 4-wheel drive, rear wheel steering, front and rear torque vectoring. It's everything you can do to have like dynamic control over what's going on with the wheels. So with a fairly long wheelbase of 3 meters, and playing with these systems, you can make it into a freight train on Autobahn. It's just like a missile going down along Autobahn. But when you get to the twisty parts of the Swiss Alps or somewhere, we actually shorten the wheelbase by playing with torque vectoring and rear wheel steering. So it feels like a car that has a wheelbase of around 2,600 millimeters or something.
Okay. To touch a little bit on the design element, of course I notice immediately it's distinctly a Koenigsegg in the shape of the canopy, the shape of the wraparound glass, but it's quite streamlined.
It is. I mean, we really wanted it to feel modern and fresh, but it's still recognizable as a Koenigsegg, even though it's a bigger car and has different features and so on. But I would say, let's say the cockpit area is always kind of reminiscent a little bit of the egg shape, but we cut it kind of square short behind the front seats. And with this interior, we really managed to complete the egg shape and really have this that cocooning sense of an egg. And I guess with this yellow Alcantara, it's like you're sitting in the middle of an egg yolk or something.
I see that little bit, because it's all based around a carbon fiber cage that you've built.
Yeah, it's a full carbon fiber monocoque, and it's incredibly stiff. As we have the roof not dismountable, we could make it really stiff, really light by using that structure as well. So from axle to axle, full axle torsional rigidity is 40,000 Newton meters per degree.
Okay, that sounds like a very big number.
It is a very big number for a four. I think it's the highest number for any four-seater in the world, as far as I'm aware.
Oh wow, okay.
Again, carbon fiber wheels, a little bit bigger this time. It's a bigger car, so 21 inch in the front, 22 in the rear. A few more spokes. The lightest wheels of that size in the world as a production wheel, I'm sure. So this car is extremely close to the production version. Our goal was to do this exhibition car basically with no difference. There will be a few small changes. The cup holders, which there are 8 of.
8 cup
Why
holders.
are there 8 cup holders? So they will be a little bit bigger first of all in the production version. But it's, you know, a cup holder is not only a cup holder in my mind, it's a storage space. You might have a drink and you might have your phone or something, even though we have like wireless phone chargers underneath these lids. But it's a place to put stuff. And if you go through a drive-through or something, you might have like a milkshake and a coffee per person. So you kind of need 2 from that perspective as well. and through the help of a Peltier element, they are hot and cold.
Okay.
So you have 1 hot and 1 cold cup holder per person, and then 1 carry-on suit.
Perfect for luxury grand touring.
If you want to go golfing or something, it's difficult to get a golf set there or in the front. But if you're only 3 persons, or let's say you're 2 persons, then you put your golf bags back here, so you can
Plenty
actually
of
use
space.
that space as well.
And that is always one of the big things about taking a grand touring car. It's also about having the seat space for your extra luggage.
Use it for whatever you want.
Yeah.
So the car is really about celebrating this space as much as this one. You don't need to do this around to get in and out. It is as spacious. You cannot be as tall back here. And the idea I kind of had is if you drive up this car to an event like the Oscars or something with movie stars, right? You have the red carpet. It wouldn't be unnatural for the star to sit there instead of there.
Okay.
It's almost like a limousine from that perspective. And if you see the leg room when you sit back there, it's crazy. It's like you can almost stretch out your legs depending on where this seat is, because there's so much leg room there as well.
We'll have to jump on board in just a second, but before we do, around the outside, obviously I noticed a few other things. The lights, for example, the design of the lights, but also still functional. Everything's functional,
Absolutely,
right?
everything's functional, completely. And we have vents underneath the lamps, which we pioneered on the CC8S at the end of the 1990s, early 2000s. Many car companies are doing that now because it's a good spot to get rid of air. It's a low pressure zone. But as far as I'm aware, we pioneered that idea. But on this car, we also took it one step further by making the brake cooling ducts underneath the front lamps.
Okay.
Because this is a high pressure zone, so that was very convenient. And the shape of these lamps actually are inspired by the first pretty rough Koenigsegg CC prototype, the first car we ever built. It had, if you look at early pictures, it's of course not as beautiful and well executed. It was a rough prototype, but it has kind of these shape lights on it.
Okay. I notice as the car is sitting in front of us, it is also very low to the ground. Oh, that's nice. The indicator, that's a really nice.
Cool.
I was going to say it must be sitting on a suspension, adjustable suspension.
It is a fully adjustable suspension. So you have a ride-out system. A lifting system to go over obstacles, but then also a complete 4-wheel ride-out system. This would be the equivalent of track mode right now.
We haven't yet discussed yet, but this is of course a 400 km/h car.
It is. So it's a direct drive car. There are no gear shifting or anything. We're still only able to use 1 gear, and that's where we ran out of RPM from the electrical motors and the combustion engine. But as we say with the Regera, 400 km/h is pretty much fast enough for anyone.
Yes.
And going faster would be a compromise in even longer gear ratios and more sluggish acceleration and so on. So we think we found kind of the perfect span there. There is no compromise in 0 to 60 or 0 to 100 acceleration. It's a monster all the way up to 400, and no one should go very much faster anyway. Well, then they have to maybe buy that thing over there.
Well, we should talk about that if you don't mind while we're here.
Of course.
I'm going to come back and take a better look at the interior in a moment, but this is of course the Jesko Absolute. This is the absolute fastest Koenigsegg.
Ever. There's gonna be.
That will be the fastest. And have I understood correctly, customers can choose whether they have the track or the Absolute?
Correct. So we're opening up the configurator as soon as we have the launch of the cars to our customers, and they're all pre-sold. And then you can choose the low drag, high speed version, or the higher drag, high downforce, more track focused version with more louvers and winglets and stiffer springs and so on. And actually, you can see there is not this big louver in the front bonnet here. So we reduce drag and actually we get more luggage space, so we can put the roof back in here again.
Oh,
okay. So it becomes a little bit more practical, a little bit softer, a little bit more practical. But the amazing thing about this is the drag. We spent thousands of hours on our supercomputers to reduce drag and downforce. We don't want much downforce at these speeds, just enough to keep it on the ground because the tires get hot from downforce and it also stops the car. So we're more about high-speed stability, so these are stabilizing the car more in a straight line. This car is still extremely fun around the racetrack because with less downforce, you get more of a progressive slip.
True.
So you can have a lot of fun on a track with this as well. It just won't be as fast as the track-focused Jesko around the track, but a little bit more supple on the road, and for high speed, super high-speed stability, and just cuts through the air like a knife. So we have a CD of 0.278. which is pretty much unheard of for a mega car. I mean, you have big wide tires, you have large air intakes that you need to cool the engine and the transmission and so on, and still a drag, which is like a normal passenger car with tiny tires and maybe even closed off air intakes. So with this kind of power, with 1600 horsepower, with the gear ratio we have and that drag, anyone with a little bit of a math skill can check out the RPM limits and all these factors and see how potentially fast it can go.
Any clues?
Yeah, I mean, we were blown away.
Okay.
We're really blown away. To prove it in reality, we need to find a road, some friendly policeman that shuts it down, and the good weather. And we all know how difficult that is, and it needs to be really long this time. But if we do, this thing is the fastest. It's going to prove itself as the fastest Koenigsegg ever, and we actually don't have any plans whatsoever to try to drive faster than this. This is more than fast enough. No one should even do this in a way, but this is the last hurrah.
It's a feat of engineering. Yes. I mean, I noticed quite a few differences, at least from the track car that was revealed before.
Yes.
The extended sections here, the covers over the rear wheels, obviously the lack of the wing.
These covers you can actually undo if you want for daily driving, if you prefer that look. That's the same wheel as on the track Jesko, but for ultimate top speed, that actually makes quite a big difference.
Okay, and just having the back as well more streamlined.
Yes,
extending the rear.
You can see how it's a little bit extended and very clean cut from an aerodynamic perspective. Yes.
Well, that is incredibly exciting. Can we pop back over to the new car? I said the new car. They're both new cars because I think if it's okay, we should check out the interior a little bit.
Absolutely.
And jump on board and have a good look inside here and run through some of the controls and functionality as we get to see the door in all of its glory opening up. I mean, I notice in here a few things. One, you have cameras on the outside, on the displays. You've got some large screens. You've continued the rotating display for the dashboard as well.
Correct, exactly. And we have haptic feedback touch screens on the steering wheel, and then we have gotten rid of the stalks, so we have all the other functions on these buttons. So it's about minimizing components in a way and giving maximum user friendliness and opportunity to over-the-air upgrade over time. As screens and electronics and software, you can always find better solutions as you go along.
For sure. Well, thank you very much for the tour around. Congratulations on creating this, and thank you for your time.
I might also mention we're only making 300 of these, only I say, because it's more than double of the Jesko.
True.
But this is at a slightly different price point. It's still very, very expensive car, but as we're doing a little bit more of them, we could push the price down a little bit, and as a family car, it can also make sense from that perspective, I would say.
For sure. Well, it's awesome, absolutely awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
While we are here then, I'm going to take a seat inside. A big thanks to Christian for his time, just to have a quick look around this. But wow, you instantly have that wraparound letterbox style front view, the central windshield wiper. These are the controls for the door. The start button is up there on that top panel as well. Up above us, we have of course the clear roof. And then in front, the screen, just to press a few buttons here, you've got some controls, navigation. If you go into settings here, you can move the seats, which actually tilt as well. So if I do this with the passenger seat, you can see that it has quite some adjustment to it. We'll control through here. This isn't final, this is just the state of everything set up at the moment. You've got the buttons here to open the door as well. I think if you press that, yep, the passenger door is going to open up. These are the cup holders, which push down. On the steering wheel, as I mentioned, we have the rotating display. So that actually turns as the steering wheel turns to always be pointing upwards. That's really cool. And then we have the screens as well for the cameras, the mirror views, blinded by bright lights at the moment, of course, outside. And then that is a spinning 360 camera. It actually hovers in the air and can spin around when it's enabled to film everything that's going on as a video recorder. So obviously I'm sat quite far back at the moment, but if I just go to my seat and put it into, let's say, a comfortable position, and remember the interior is not absolutely final, but that is now forwards into more of my seating position. Take a climb out, a glimpse at the Regera while we do, and then take a seat into the back of the car, see what it's like back here. Oh wow, I feel completely in a bucket seat, cocooned in the rear. The exact same finish for the occupants in the back, and those lovely carbon fiber seats, plus the display, just showing a holding screen at the moment with a demonstration of what we've got. And if you were to get trapped back here, we've got the emergency releases for the doors as well. This feels pretty comfortable. I could sit back here with pleasure for a long distance drive. I've got loads of headroom above me. Wow, this is awesome. This is absolutely awesome to be back here. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little bit tempted by one of these. Climb back out, slightly awkward to climb out from the rear. But to be fair, with what the car is capable of, and just to show you closing the door quickly, pull that, and it closes down. With what the car is capable of, it does a very impressive job of it. Look at this. Look at this car that Koenigsegg have created and presented here as we walk around it just now. This is really quite something spectacular. When it comes to this segment, a segment that, as Christian said, didn't really exist, wasn't really there, something he'd been dreaming about for a very long time. A Mega GT. Mega because of course it is more than a megawatt of power, 1.27 megawatts of power, 1700 horsepower, while seating 4 people, going up to 400 kilometers per hour, presumably in an incredibly quick time. Less than 2 seconds to 100 kilometers an hour, but I wouldn't be surprised if we're talking 20 or thereabouts up to 400, which is really quite something to even contemplate, thanks to the gearing and the powertrain setup that they have created for this. And just being in this company as well. Here, this is the Regera, of course, that was presented before, the Ghost package with the additional aero flicks that you can see around, sharing some of the components. This was Koenigsegg's first hybrid car, of which they're making 80 units in total, the Regera. And wow, this is a 3-car lineup now for the team at Koenigsegg, and a very impressive one they've managed to create at that. To show you very quickly then, the engine here for the Jumeirah, I say the engine, the combustion engine, the 2-litre 3-cylinder that we have, which actually has 2 exhaust exits going to each of the different turbos per cylinder, which is a quite innovative technology. Using AI means that they control the amount of turbos that are spinning up and effectively help with the efficiency and consumption and also performance out of it. Then of course you have the electric motor connected up to that, which is the one we were talking about for the front axle. This is the whole unit and system for the front axle. And just to see some of the numbers that it's boasting here, they are gigantic, huge numbers, and also a very small, very compact package that this creates overall as a result, hence why it can be a mid-engined car despite being 4 seats. Back in here then, just to take one last glimpse at this, an amazing car. A huge congratulations to the team here on their introduction of this. I know it's been in the works for a long time, and a very special opportunity as well for me to be able to come and take a preview a couple of days ahead of the full reveal, being able to share it now with you too. The new Koenigsegg Jumeirah, their first Mega GT, a 4-seater, comfortable, exceptionally fast hypercar. Something totally new. here it is, a first look. A big thanks again to Christian and a big congratulations to everybody. Thank you very much to you guys as well for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video, but that is it for this time. I will see you again very soon. Cheers.